Hi, I'm coming to you today from the book club, for the Overbooked. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the book that we're working on today, which is Boundaries and Protection. And the chapter that we're on is chapter 9, and it's about growing up with addiction. One of the thoughts that I had on this one was that there are just so many different types of addiction that I don't want people to get hooked on growing up with parents that are alcoholics and drug addicts. It's actually more than that. If you think about it, there are addicts to winning, there are addicts to perfectionism, and there are so many different things. There's gambling as well. There's so many different things that we can be addicted to, and sometimes it's the addiction to control. And so growing up codependent is not allowing you to feel like you can even find what makes you happy and what makes your inner heart shine. And so we kind of lose ourselves because our addiction, then we end up getting an addiction to making other people happy. And a lot of people say what makes me happy is to make other people happy. And that's great, but make sure that that is truly what makes you happy, because usually you can gear that in towards something else. There are helpers. I'm a helper, and my in a sense, addiction when I went through a particular course was my inner self-talk was that I was not worth saving, but yet I would always save the underdog. And so my career was fire department. And if you think about that, like I had 2 young children and I was willing to run into a burning building, and I was working on 9/11 and thought I would have been one of those people that ran in there without a thought in the world except for other people. And then there's a thought of, well, what about my young children who really didn't have, a mom that if anything happened to me, and they didn't have a secured father, and I was what they had. And then I started really thinking about it differently, and I started making changes in what I did as a firefighter, and really working toward making changes in other areas of the fire department, how we reevaluate things, how we look at things. And it ended up making me a stronger person. And I look at this more recently with Simone Biles and then Carrie Strong. I know Carrie Strong back in 1996, she worked doing gymnastics until she was further injured, and she really didn't have that decision because she had a lot of social pressure. And if you look at what just happened with Simone, she made that decision, and that was huge. And what she basically stated was what Pixie Lighthorse was saying, is that the insanity stops with me. She made a decision not only for her mental health, but her mental health is going to affect her performance. And that's just really huge. And that isn't just the moment of the fact that she was shaking and she could feel that and she wasn't going to be able to move forward with things, but the fact of the long term, what that's going to do to her health. And therefore, we store those emotions in our fascia, and our fascia is wrapped around every single thing in our body like a spider web, and we store that in our gut, and it restricts our fluids from moving. So being able to have that power, no matter how long you've been in that situation, to be able to say, hey, it stops with me. And then the other thought is you can come along with the, let's try and iron this out. Let's see if we can come up with something that works for both of us. And let me see what that's going to look like. And that's not always going to be an overnight fix, but having the power to be able to stand up and say that is a huge difference. And that's going to be what's going to bring that emotional and physical need to you to be met. And it's going to be able to help you gain control and feel good about yourself, as well as the relationship you're in. And sometimes the relationship just isn't right. They may be a great person, but you might be toxic together. Sometimes often we're repeating an old relationship, and if you write it on paper without specifics, and you write it on paper like the conversation that you're having, it may be the same thing over and over again. anyway, share with me, you know, how this chapter and how this conversation, with it not being just about alcohol and drugs, like how does that resonate for you? I'd be really interested to hear back from you. I'm even open to, you know, phone calls. I'll actually put my schedule, a City Slate, on there. You can schedule with me for, you know, a free phone call. And I would love to have that conversation. And let me know if there's anything that we can do for you. And I will be back to you with chapter 10, and I look forward to hearing from you.